Okay.
Go live.
Go for it.
We're going live. We're like actually live right now. It's beautiful. Kyle's video quality is rough. I think it looks good. It's looking good over here. It's capturing well right there. I mean, anyway, we should be live. So hi everyone and welcome to Awesome Hardware. This is a live streamed show that Kyle and I do every Tuesday evening, and we stream to our YouTube channels. This week is episode number 240. I'm sorry, 241. We're streaming to my channel. We switch off every other week these days. And we also, of course, stream to twitch.tv/awesomehardware, where we will be doing some after-partying a little bit later. But yeah, Hero is also very excited about the start of the show, and we wanted to say welcome and also give a quick word of warning that we do occasionally use adult language, and we also enjoy a tasty adult beverage along with the show. Today I am drinking my last old Rasputin. So.
And I am drinking vodka.
Vodka.
Yes, it's
just vodka.
Switching it up, you know. I've been doing a lot of whiskey, so I figured why not do just a little bit of vodka.
Hey, you know, I think it's okay.
What?
Should be a good show. Looking forward to the show now.
I went to Costco. I bought like so much vodka that I just decided to like put it all into this giant water jug.
Oh, that's good. That's good for storage, and also if you need to sneak it into an event or something. Not that we would condone that sort of action. The sort of action that we do condone, though, is to check out our stores. paulshardware.net. For mine, you can buy shirts, mugs, hoodies, pint glasses. If you happen to purchase something during the show, we will give you a shout-out during the after party. It's a long-held tradition here, and take advantage of that. paulshardware.net. It's linked in the description, as well as Kyle's store at bitwit.tech/shop. No idea what my dogs are freaking out so much about today, but that's okay. Lightweight hoodies are all the rage. I believe they're on sale in both of our stores. And Kyle also has a fine selection of merchandise that you should involve yourself with.
Indeed.
That said, my goodness, the dogs. That said, I think it's time, right? We can go now? We can start the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Feeling pumped.
Kyle's mic is peaking. Somebody said he was soft, and then I turned him up, and now he's probably peaking even more.
You need me to move my mic further away or something?
That might help a little bit. Or just, you know.
Check 1 2. Testing 1 2 3.
That's good. Just when you get excited, get like 90% excited rather than going the full 100%. That's all.
Or if I'm about to get excited, I'll just move the mic at the same time, like, oh my god.
That would actually totally work
crazy.
too. That would totally work if you. It's
We've
like,
got options.
like when you're singing the song and you hit the high note and you move the mic away when you're like a super professional.
Chocolate rain style.
That's something. All right, today we are going to be talking about tech news, of course, and I intended originally to do a completely non-NVIDIA show. I was challenged to not name one of their new GPUs for the first hour. I don't think we're quite going to do that, but we do have actually quite a bit of some non-NVIDIA stuff, which means we're talking about AMD. If NVIDIA kind of ruled the news cycle for the past 2-3 weeks with their launches, AMD is going to make their best attempt to do that in October. So we got some leaks about their graphics cards. We have a leak, which I personally am going to debunk here on the show, live for you guys, using my incredible investigative journalism skills. There's also an RGB uninterruptible power supply. Just put some cherry.
Where do I deposit my money
on the
that?
mustard? Well, I don't. You know, you gotta. I'm gonna leave you in suspense for now, Kyle.
That is.
Because I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, there's details. All the stories we're talking about today, by the way, are linked in the video's description on YouTube if you want to check them out. Also, shout outs to our awesome moderators, who are our mods. Crafty Hack.
Spider.
Spider's here today too. Spider's
here.
Crafty
I don't know
Hack.
if I saw Wifey Sauce.
Wifey Sauce as well. Shout out to our mods. We love them. And yes, slow mode is finally on in YouTube chat.
Oh, Kyle. And I actually figured out why I look like hot garbage, like why I've got this stupid green tint and like why it looks washed out.
Oh.
It's because I have the teleprompter set up. I was doing a teleprompter thing earlier, and I forgot to remove it. I usually don't have the teleprompter, so it's cutting through this shitty green tinted glass right now. So sorry about that.
So that's why I still have my homemade teleprompter made out of cardboard with a piece of glass that I got at Home Depot.
That's it.
To be fair,
Value.
the glass does not have a green tint. And by the way, green tint on the glass is a sign not of inferior quality, but it's cheaper to make glass. And it naturally has the green tint.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting sidetracked pretty quickly today. Let's talk about some AMD Zen 3 based Vermeer codenamed CPUs. And if you're thinking like, oh, a 4950X? No, this is a 5800X tested, according to this Tech Power Up article. This is once again a leak via Tum Apisak on Twitter, who has sourced quite a few leaks and stuff like that. You know, he seems like someone who just goes and constantly trolls through things like Ashes of the Singularity benchmark results and stuff like that. But the goal is to pull out stuff like this. Benchmark databases store data about the hardware that's benchmarked, and here we have a Ryzen 7 5800X 8-core processor on this listing. So my first thought was, hold the phone. 5000 series for 5800? Because we've been talking about 4000 series for quite some time, right?
Why'd they skip it?
AMD has promised forward compatibility with 4000 series processors for their 500 series and 400 series motherboards, right? This is a 5000 series processor.
Maybe they're trying to. Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't want to, put anything out there that's random or speculative, but I could see there being a legal precedent for them saying like, well, but this is the 5000 series. Obviously, there's a lot of questions here that this brings up. Just right there. But we should be hearing more information about this because AMD's already promised that presentation on October 8th. So we're looking at just over a week away. More speculation on 5000 series versus 4000 series in just a second. Let's focus on these actual numbers here because we're talking about a Zen 3 based processor. Again, assuming this is true, this is leaked early information, so we don't know if it's accurate or not. It's the 5800X, which is an 8-core, 16-thread processor, and they are comparing it specifically to an i9 10900K results, which is 10-core, 20-thread. And the text might be kind of small there, but the short story is the CPU frame rate result, which you can see on the upper slide here is for the 5800X. This is tested with an RTX 2080, by the way, 133.6, compared to the Intel 10900K's CPU frame rate of 114.8.
What?
There's other variables in there, like you might look and say, like, well, the Intel's still getting a higher overall frame rates, and there I'd say, let's not think about this too much because it's an early leaked result. Let's look at the high level stuff and be like, all right, maybe that's a thing. And also keep in mind other stuff if you're looking at this as an early result. If it truly was a test that someone ran with this actual processor, it's probably an engineering sample. Clock speeds might not be the final clock speeds for the processor in question. But yeah, there it is. CPU frame rate is 133.6 on the 5800X and 114.8 on the Intel. Intel's still getting a higher overall frame rate. If you're
Right.
So, that might indicate that your Intel's still slightly better in certain gaming scenario situation. Again, that's digging in too much. This is a 4K result, 3840 by 2160. And it is very slight on the overall frame rate. So, yeah, just throwing this out there as a thing that kind of filtered through the annals of history. I don't know. I'm trying to say something poignant for some reason, but yeah, Kyle, any thoughts?
How big of a difference was the overall frame rate? I didn't catch it.
Overall frame rate is 59.3 with the 5800X, and 60.3, so one FPS higher, from 59 to 60, with the 10900K.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
But the CPU frame rate,
4K and stuff,
CPU frame rate is higher. So, how are each of these processors treating that RTX 2080 comes into question there. But again, this is a single result. It might just be manufactured. It might be BS. You always gotta sort of weigh your analysis of this with, like, don't get too deep or too invested, because again, it could all be just BS. But
I mean,
yeah,
there must be this Tum Apasat guy must have some credible leaks, because everyone's always writing articles about his freaking leaks and rumors. I feel like if he just had like a really terrible track record and was always wrong, like no one would listen to him.
I don't know if anyone has ever done a critical analysis, like gone back through
really
his post history and been like, this was actually dead on accurate. This was complete BS. You know,
that's a good piece of content. Who's the most accurate leaker?
Who's got the time to go back through there and like vet all those posts and stuff like that?
Gamers Nexus.
Yeah.
Gamers Nexus would.
Hero, why is Hero's getting so? He's just very excited today. Hero went to the vet earlier this week. He's got some pain meds. He's been a little limpy in the back. He's an old boy though, but I think he's been doing better the past day or two. We trimmed his nails. That's good. Anyway, getting distracted yet again. I forget if there's anything else to talk about. So going back here, 4000 series is what everyone has been talking about, right? You know, leaks have already come out about like a 4950X and yada yada. But what we're seeing here is 5000 series CPUs. There's a couple possibilities here, and this is the next article, by the way, which is from WCCF Tech, which is about the 5900X, which would be the 12-core variant, rather than the 8-core variant in the 5800X. Again, this is part of that code-named Vermeer family, based on Zen 3. And here we have a little bit of additional information. According to this leak, we have 150-watt TDP. Tons of speculation about these going up to 5 gigahertz, and that may or may not be the case. It seems like all the clock speed numbers here that people have been talking about is really speculative. But there was a previous leak of a 4000 series 4950X, theoretically, which I'm not sure why my dog is freaking out so bad. Sorry about that. There's a previous leak of a 4950X that saw it hitting 4.9 gigahertz. And so anyway, still talking about leaks. We do have a question, a straw poll here that we wanted to share with you guys, so I can post this in Twitch chat really quick. But just asking about this TDP thing, because this is a higher TDP for this 5900X, which is a 12-core, 24-thread processor, which would be the successor to the 3900X 12-core, 24-thread processor. 150-watt TDP compared to 105, which is a pretty decent jump. Yeah. Percentage-wise and everything. So what do you guys think about efficiency here for the next generation of Ryzen processors? Would you rather that they not care about efficiency, just go for high clock speeds? Would you rather them sit higher on that efficiency curve or lower, depending on how you look at it, to just go for more performance? Do you like a balance, or there are your options. So give us some votes on that as we further discuss this story. Alleged specs for the 5900X so far. And by the way, this is also leaked via a German tech YouTube channel called PC Welt, which is what happens when you get hit with a PC paintball, right? Okay. Anyway, German YouTube channel is where this information came from. But 12 cores, 24 threads, 150 watt TDP, and 5 gigahertz. Doesn't seem to be too much more than that with the leak, other than the fact that maybe it exists. This is a WCCF Tech article, also linked in the description. Also, just lots of random speculation in it. Like, higher up in the article, it's like, instructions per clock improvement of 20% is expected. Lower down in the article, they say 17%. So, yeah.
Grain of salt.
Grain of salt. Maybe several grains of salt and everything. But it does seem like we have multiple sources here talking about a 5000 series of AMD CPUs for this next gen. So the question is, are they just calling their next gen? Are they skipping 4000 and they jump into 5000? That's not unheard of. It's why would they do that?
My theory is that marketing team wanted to have everything cohesive, because They're on the 500 series with their motherboards.
Okay.
B550, X570, and maybe they're like, it's the generation of 5. It's five's time to shine.
Yeah, we talked
Triple 5.
We
yeah,
mentioned
like,
that.
we
like
had, yeah,
AM5,
exactly.
PCI
They probably
Express
just
Gen
listened to our
5,
stream and they're
DDR5.
like, Paul and Kyle are geniuses.
So that could be it. There's different reasons. Again, assuming they are going with naming the 5800X, 5900X, why they might do that. Cohesiveness with 5. You could see them going for something along those lines. It's not unheard of for a company creating different, names for their products to just randomly skip something that before was perfectly numerically sequenced. It happens all the time. It's kind of maddening for people who are like, wait, no, just do it in order. But I have like an idea, and this is purely my speculation. Let me be very clear on that, because I haven't seen anything like this written anywhere. But like, what if they're going to take Zen 3 and they're going to put it in 2 different packages? What if you're going to have a Zen 3 4000 series that is backwards compatible with 400 series and 500 series motherboards? And then what if there's also going to be a Zen 3 based 5000 series CPUs, which are only compatible with X670 motherboards, which will be the platform that introduces AM5, as well as lots of other of this, fancy new stuff.
Don't give them ideas, Paul.
Future technologies, DDR5, USB 4.0, the X670 chipset.
I don't like it when they do that. There's too much segmentation, and you like the people who get the, I don't know, there's a lot in a name. I know it's stupid, but there's a lot in a name, and I know people are going to feel like they got stiffed when it's like, it would also seem like a workaround for AMD, because they weren't initially planning to support the B450 boards, for example, and they eventually turned around. So maybe this, like that if they did that, that would totally backfire and be seen as a way of them, for them to circumvent, axing support on B450 for Zen 3, 100%.
Well, I think what they would probably do is they would have a more limited series of 4000 series CPUs, like a more limited number of SKUs overall. Newer stuff that they're planning for further down the road would all go onto the next gen platform. That way they wouldn't have to worry about stuff like the number of CPUs and that are recognized by a given BIOS or the issues that they were having with including so many CPUs from like the 300 series to the 400 series of chipsets and everything. So yeah, I would completely agree with you like this sort of initial idea. And again, we're talking about something that I just made up right now because I'm looking at this and being like, everything I've seen with them talking about forward compatibility for Zen 3 based CPUs has said 4000 series. There's a big kerfuffle about it and whether or not they were going to support it. And B450 users who had just bought a B450 motherboard thinking that they were going to have an upgrade, better upgrade path, getting miffed by it. And then they came back and were like, all right, we're going to have 400 series support as well. But yeah, everything I've read that's direct from AMD, confirmed information about that compatibility agreement that they've made with customers says 4000 series. So that would indicate to me that they have a 4000 series planned. If they've just decided to name the 4000 series 5000 series, then I would expect them to say, okay, actually 5000 series is compatible with your B450s and so on and so forth. But it's not unheard of for a CPU architecture to straddle a couple sockets. I believe this has happened before, like if you go all the way back to the socket 939 days when they switched from 939 to AM2, which was back in mid 2000s. Anyway, so I don't think it's unheard of by any stretch, but just thought I'd throw that out there as something that when I saw this naming scheme, I was like, maybe that's what they're gonna do. I don't know.
That would be angering.
The Vermeer CPU lineup is internally referred to at AMD as Family 19H, models 20H to 2FH Vermeer. So these two SKUs that we're talking about here, the 5800X and 5900X, 8-core and 12-core, are not, of course, not going to be the only CPUs in this family. There would be more, presumably There's been talk about like a 10-core variant going in there, which would be more of a direct core-to-core matchup with like what Intel's currently got in the 10900K. But we're looking at AMD's if everything that has been discussed about this comes to fruition, AMD seems to be in a pretty good place when it comes to the design of their CPUs. Because if you're familiar with Intel's tick-tock process that they had from like the late 2000s till, I don't know, when did they give up on 14 nanometer? 2014, 2015, whenever that happened. But every year they'd have a tick and a tock. They'd have a process shrink. They'd go from a certain nanometer process down to, they'd shrink it down, but they'd use the same architecture. Here they just shrink it down. And then on that same smaller process node, they would do another series of CPUs, but they would redesign the architecture. So what AMD has done here is kind of like from the current 3000 series stuff, which is on 7 nanometer, they're kind of doing like a tick or a tock, and I always forget which one is which. But they're doing the same 7 nanometer process node with a new redesigned CPU, or a newly designed CPU architecture. My wife and daughter are dancing.
We got. Oh.
Yes, it was very cute. Hi.
Can't be distracting at all.
No, they're totally trying to distract me. I will not be distracted. We're talking about important.
Maybe that's why Hero's
What were we talking
barking.
about?
Maybe he's like.
Because of the dancing.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Cheering him on.
You know, it would be nice. It's almost the end of September. It'd be nice if summer ended. That would be cool. Because I got sweat dripping down my back right now, and the air conditioner's on.
already, summer.
That's fine though.
Oh yeah.
It's fine. Everything's fine. All right, so
increase your airflow.
Is that everything about that? I think that's just about everything we had to say about that.
I think the tick. It sounds like the tick would be the small.
Tick
like,
is
like the
tick
top,
is the
like
process
the
shrink, and
process,
talk is the architecture redesign.
Just because when you like just the words like talk, like tick, talk has like the deeper sound, doesn't it?
It is established. Like it would be an easy thing to look up and confirm right now. It's just one of those things. It's 50-50 either way, and it never stuck in my brain.
Press these keys. It's so much work.
It is second summer spoon twitch. I agree. It's like it's yeah. We're getting a heat wave here at the end of September. By the way, it's supposed to be 100 degrees here in California all week.
It's already
Southern
freakishly
California.
hot.
Yeah.
It's like 95 over here.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Oh wait, no, let's not move on. Let's check the straw poll results. Right?
Okay.
Yes. What do you guys think about this whole efficiency discussion?
No one cares about efficiency. That's going to be my guess.
I don't care. I want awesome performance. All right. That's kind of what I expected, and I think that's where I would go as well, especially when we're talking about a desktop SKU and not a high-end desktop SKU, where the TDPs can get pretty high. 150 watts compared to 105 still doesn't seem like a lot to a lot of people. And if you look at the coolers available, and their rated, ratings for what wattage TDP they can support when it comes to heat output,
that's someone who cares about. Yeah, that's kind of like the equivalent of someone going to buy a Lambo and being really concerned about the mileage, like the gas mileage.
Oh yeah.
Like, well, what's it get on the freeway?
I don't know. It's like 19 miles a gallon.
Is there an eco mode?
Okay. Here, let's talk about this next thing. Because I actually saw, as I was doing some research earlier today, I was like, oh, there's some stuff about the new RX 6000 series of graphics cards. And there have been a few leaks trickling out here and there. Not a lot of stuff, I would say. Or the stuff that has trickled out has been, like, weird, and so you have to consider, like, that's probably not true. There are some pictures floating around and stuff like that. But according to videocards.com, and this was just 2 days ago, right? And this is a rumor post and everything, but there's this Radeon RX 5900X T, right? Supposedly the flagship Big Navi based GPU, and right. There were specs listed, like specs for it, like a full spec list, and people were like, oh my gosh, specs. And I was like, oh, that's probably BS. And then I looked, and I was like, Newegg's official blog listed it,
nice.
Right? And I was like,
oh,
well, maybe there is something to this. It's Newegg's official blog. And look, there's a Tech Radar story about GPU. This is just from yesterday, and Extreme Tech talking about these GPU details leaked from the Newegg thing and everything. And most of these are sourced from this original video cards article. But let me ask you guys, and let me ask you, Kyle. One of the things I always do in tech news stories and otherwise, when I look at the story, I don't really read the story at first. What I do is I hunt through the story to figure out where the source is. Because often there's an original source article or whatever written about something, and then there's a bunch of derivative stuff. And the tech news world is extremely derivative, and I say that with full acknowledgement that includes this show. We rarely source anything ourselves. Occasionally,
first on the scene.
Yeah, occasionally we will reach out to a manufacturer contact if we have one and we have time in the day as we're researching the show, and be like, hey, can you confirm this or give a statement? We've done that like twice, and we pat ourselves on the back for it extensively. So, that said, I always try to hunt and figure out where the original source is, and the source for this is, of course, the Newegg Insider blog page, right? Newegg Insider. So I looked at that, and then, by the way, this is, like, the date on this is September 22nd, 2020, but this is a how to choose a graphics card page. This is a page that has been around for a while, and they've updated it at different times. So I started scrolling down, and I saw this note right here. A recent update to this article included specs from the Tech PowerUp GPU database regarding upcoming AMD Radeon RX 6000 series graphics cards. All of this information was publicly available and wasn't intended as confirmation of any new products or specs. To avoid confusion, that information has been removed from the latest article. So, this video cards article with this, juicy bit of information leaked by Newegg, and this page of specs that they have here, which includes Radeon RX 6700 XT and 6800 XT and 6900 XT, with a couple pictures that I think they pulled from. It says the source is Jay's 2 cents for these pictures. Did Jay? Anyway. Point being, that article originally was probably published before they put this note and updated things. These articles are from within the past day or two, and these are not the only articles, by the way. This is from a day ago. This is from September 28th at 7:11 a.m. All right, so maybe Extreme Tech can get a pass, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, all right, we don't know exactly when Newegg posted this update on this article page. Did any of the people who saw the video cards article and went to write their derivative article about, like, hey, look at these specs leaked for these Radeon 6000 series, did they do anything beyond looking at that video cards article and summarize it? And I don't know the answer for a lot of people, because in order to know that answer, you'd have to know when Newegg published this update and when the articles were published that you're looking at there.
Yeah.
And for some of those, you might not be able to answer it, but then I realized, oh, and if I can find it here, I will show you guys. This article has comments on it. Where the hell are they? Oh, here they are. Article has comments down here at the bottom. And you can see the comments go back to like February and March, because, like I said, this page has been up for a while. They've just updated it. Here is a comment from September 27th, 2 days ago, when those specs went up, asking, where'd you get the specs for the 6000 series? That would be a major scoop. And Nick, by the way, shout out to Nick. I don't know if you're watching, but I often
From
say,
Newegg?
Yeah, Nick Scabetta. I often say I don't know anyone who works at Newegg anymore, because it's been a while since I worked there, and but Nick, I know Nick. We went to South Korea together. Anyway, Nick posted this note September 28th at 10:01 a.m. So that, presumably, since the note is basically the same information that was posted in the article, and Nick is in charge, I believe, Nick does a lot of stuff with their content creation team over there. But yeah, so any article posted after that time should be ashamed of regurgitating stuff, and we here have now confirmed for you guys that all of these juicy specs leaked from the RX 6000 series, supposedly from the legitimate source of Newegg, are in fact just stuff that they pulled from the Tech PowerUp database. If you guys aren't familiar with the Tech PowerUp database, it's actually quite useful.
I think I've never used it.
You haven't? Where is
I don't think
Where is
so. What have I been missing?
databases? GPU database. Not the high level one. Oh, they're just linking to. Oh, popular. All right. So Tech Power Up just has a GPU database on their site, so you can search by lots of different stuff. But you can see here popular. They do entries in the database very early for graphics cards once they have any inkling that that graphics card is going to exist, and then they populate that page with further information as it comes out, and then once specs are actually confirmed, they'll go in there and actually confirm it. As you can see here, there's an entry for a 6900 XT. There's an entry for where is it? Where is it? A 3060, an RTX 3060.
Whoa.
Dang it, we weren't supposed to mention RTX GPUs yet, but RTX 3060 doesn't even have a launch date. It just says 2020. We're talking about that a little bit later in the show. So, point being, the Tech Power Up database includes cards that haven't launched yet. And in fact, it often includes cards that are only rumored. And they do this because of search engine optimization. The earlier you can get the page up and it's legitimate, the higher it will rank when people do Google searches. And it's a good idea from Tech Power Up. It helps drive traffic to their website, which is...
So the specs are just speculative.
They're speculative specs.
Correct.
They do not know anything more than what has been published elsewhere. Somebody at Newegg who was writing this article or an addendum to this article went and tried to, they made a little chart with information on graphics cards. They sourced the information from this GPU database, which is a very good database if you're looking for confirmed stuff for released cards. It's got lots of information about it there all in one place. I've used it before myself. But just know that if you're looking at a card here, and the release date is October 28th, 2020, which is in the future, unless AMD has come out and said, here's the card we're launching and here's all the specs for it, this information is probably still in the realm of speculation. It's often accurate. I think they do their best to make sure that information is accurate. But all this is to say that, again, this article, or the derivative articles about the Radeon RX 6000 specs that have leaked and how groundbreaking or newsworthy that is, anything published after yesterday at 10 a.m. should have checked the source article and seen that update and not published the article about the specs leaking, because they're just... Anyway, all right, let's move on, right?
I feel like if it's speculative specs, they should somehow note that, just to avoid confusion.
I forget if they do in the database itself. Like for the 6900 XT.
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, they do. It says
do?
right here, this product is not released yet. Data on this page may change in the future.
Oh, okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
Good job.
So there it is.
Nice.
All right, let's talk about one more thing here. Oh no, two more things. You guys like RGB? Everyone loves RGB? Yeah. If you want to maximize your RGB, and you've got fans and a CPU cooler and like a case and like LED strips and your graphics card and your motherboard, and like you got those SSDs with RGB on them, and what else? You got like peripherals and your keyboard and your mouse is RGB, and you're like, I have RGB, but I still have this gaping hole inside me, and maybe I should go get some counseling about that, but instead I could buy something. And if you're that person, how about an RGB UPS? Not UPS like who brings packages to...
Like the best, mindless consumerism spiel.
Thank you.
you could ever fit into like a 10-second rant. That was very eloquent.
I make this stuff up off the top of my head. It's probably the beer.
Oh, I know.
All right, a UPS is not the company, not what Brown can do for you. A UPS is an uninterruptible power supply, often overlooked but very, very useful PC accessory that I highly recommend. Anyone who uses a computer on a regular basis, especially if you use it for work, get a freaking UPS. Like, they're so helpful. Anytime, even more especially if you're anywhere where you have power outages or you live in an apartment complex with lots of different people on the same circuit who might turn something on at some point that suddenly causes a voltage drop, and you have stuff operating in a weird way. But anyway, this is just a RGB on a UPS, and it's just a circle around the top of it, which has 12 RGB LEDs. This is called this Schneider Electric APC Backups Pro gaming UPS. Yes, a pro gaming UPS.
Because it's got RGB.
Because it's got
which
RGB.
makes your system run faster.
Who wrote this article? Oh, Ian did. What's up, Ian?
I mean,
He says it's probably just a repackaged, rebadged version of the BR1500MS, which peak wattage output of 900 watts. But yeah, so basically, if you're pulling the full wattage, it'll last for about 4 minutes. But if you're doing something simpler, it can last for 15 minutes to an hour or more. Anyway, RGB UPS. I'm gonna go buy one. It's $220.
I'm just laughing at the idea of during a power outage happens and everything in your whole house goes dark except this one RGB circle. It's just glowing.
That's just on
in the middle of the dark.
It's as well as whatever other RGB products were plugged into it for a period of time.
Yeah, that's true.
Until the battery runs out. It's available in Arctic or midnight, because black or white sounds way cooler when you call it Arctic or midnight.
It's a gaming UPS
it's
after
gaming
all.
UPS. You gotta dress it up. It's got a couple USB Type A and Type C ports on the front, so one Type C port, so you can charge phones and stuff directly. I will say it's got connections for routers and hotspots. So the idea is if you're in the middle of a game and you're gaming, and then the power goes out, you want to finish your game, right? So you need to have enough time for that. So you connect up your router or your hotspot to this, and then even if your power goes out, you can still finish your game. It's a noble cause and everything. But I feel like I've talked about this at some point before, but I've actually experienced this, and it actually feels kind of cool, especially if you live in an apartment complex or something like that where you do have power outages. If you can power your router or basically your modem/router, whatever that unit is, you can probably still have internet even if the power is out in your area. It depends how what that is connected to. There might be another stage further on that the power is out to as well. But I've absolutely done this where I had a UPS, plugged in the modem, plugged in the computer, and I still had internet, for like 5 minutes or whatever. I forget if I did anything useful or if I was just like, internet still works.
I need to tweet.
Yeah, I should tweet this immediately. But anyway, there it is. One last... Yeah, kind of cool. One last thing to bring up here, and this is from when I tweeted out earlier, and thanks to everyone who responded. Was just like, hey guys, anything interesting going on that you feel like we should discuss? If you have an AMD Ryzen system, and if you've dabbled in overclocking at all, and like Linus did a video on this, but Yuri Bibli, or at OneUsmus on Twitter, has developed several things like a Ryzen memory tool that tells you if your memory is going to work at different settings and stuff. He has just today launched or made available the ClockTuner for Ryzen software. So if you want to dabble in some overclocking and you want something that will kind of guide you into optimizing that process, it's available from Guru 3D to download, as well as a guide and everything. And there's Robert, Chrome Dome.
That top reply looked like he was having a hard time launching it for some reason.
Yeah, well, he's been responding to people and helping them.
Okay.
Because
just making sure it's not broken or.
Yeah, this is an overclocking tool. It's created by a guy, very intelligent guy, but it's not going to be plug and play for everyone. But a lot of people have gained some useful stuff out of the other stuff that he's put out, so I just wanted to let you guys know that that's a thing. All right, let's move into the second half of our news coverage for this evening, which is NVIDIA. I didn't make lower thirds, but there's news. I don't know if I did that right earlier either, but all right. So now we've covered all the other stuff. Lots of discussion about NVIDIA in recent weeks because they have a massive launch going on. They have a segmented launch going on, which they are extending out so that people keep talking about NVIDIA over and over and over again. And while we acknowledge that, while we have participated and contributed to this, absolutely are guilty of that. Also attempting to acknowledge that, and as long as you say that before you do something, it makes it okay, right? All right, NVIDIA.
I'm about to kill someone.
NVIDIA stuff. All right, so this is from like almost a week ago. So it was from Wednesday of last week. So we didn't cover it on last week's show, but other models from the RTX 3000 series have been starting to trickle out via leaks and stuff like that. This one specifically has a picture, which does look like a picture of an actual place of a thing that's happening. So, you know, you can judge for that whether this is completely fabricated or not. But this is supposedly a slide that was shown at an alleged event by Galax, who's an add-in board partner from NVIDIA. It was targeted at distributors in China, and it revealed 3 potential upcoming RTX 3000 series SKUs. If you're looking at this slide, you probably recognize up here an RTX 3080 20 gig variant with more memory. This mysterious entry called PG142 SKU 0, and then the aforementioned RTX 3060. Cool.
What's the PG?
Well, I would tell you that, but then I'd do my notes out of order, and I don't want to do that.
Oh.
It's okay. We'll get to that in just a second.
Oh, I see.
This
I can see the notes now.
This appears to be another confirmation from a major NVIDIA partner about the 20 gig variant of the RTX 3080. There's speculation about RTX 3080 10 gig actually hitting memory usage limits when it comes to full 8K gaming or even 4K with lots of crazy stuff like ray tracing and everything turned on. Can consume quite a bit of memory, so is 10 gigs enough for every scenario? Who knows? So maybe it's not, and they're doing a 20 gig variant. That would seem to indicate there are scenarios where that does help. Also would potentially be sort of a bridge the gap card between the $700 RTX 3080 and the $1,500 RTX 3090. So I imagine it would be in the $900 to $1,000 range. But yeah, the RTX 3080 uses 28 gigabit GDDR6 memory chips, 2 chips per 32-bit data path. So that's how you get 20 gigs of GDDR6 on the single 3080. The RTX 3060 that's shown here, and keep in mind if you're looking at this chart, they're being compared here to the 20 series when it comes to like a performance matchup. So the 3060 here is about on the same line with the RTX 2080 non-super. This unnamed SKU that Kyle already brought up, called PG142 SKU 0, appears to be a higher performer than the RTX 2080 Ti, and it's reasonable to assume, again, if any of this is actually legit, that would be a RTX 3070 Ti or an RTX 3070 Super if they're going to do Supers again. We're still not sure. There's been nothing about the name Super for this series so far, but that is something that they did with the 20 series. There are leaks from other sources that called this SKU specifically a 3070 Super, but you got to bear in mind here, as Steve mentioned in his video today or yesterday, whenever he posted that, which we're also going to talk about, the Gamers Next to Steve, by the way, a lot of the times the third-party add-in board partners only have limited information to work with, which is weird to think considering that they're building such a complex product out of a GPU that NVIDIA has designed and manufactured, but so it is. So it's totally possible for a board partner to only know something like PG142 SKU 0, or whatever NVIDIA has called it in their technical documents, or whatever code name they're using for it, so stuff doesn't get out. And for the board partner to be like, all right, as a placeholder for in our little database or whatever, we're going to call it 2070 Super, and we'll change that when it comes to it. So This is why a lot of early information that comes out, is subject to change, and we have nothing beyond. We don't even have a TI confirmation for anything from NVIDIA for this time around, so all of this should be taken with a grain of salt. That said, I see them probably using TI before they use Super stuff, and as we're going to talk about in a second, there's a 3060 Ti possibly waiting in the wings.
Cool.
That weird SKU could also be, if they're doubling the memory on the RTX 3080 from 10 to 20 gigs to make a different variant of that, they might double the 8 gigs on the 3070 and make a 16 gig variant of that. How that would compete with the 10 gig 3080, hard to say, but again, we're just speculating. We don't know what's going Either way, though, that's right in the, that's just below, or sorry, that's above the Titan RTX and RTX 2080 Ti line on that very, very detailed chart. All right, so speaking of a 3060 Ti, here's a video cards article about a potential 3060 Ti. This one, they're saying confirmed in the title, and by confirmed, they mean 2 sources confirming. Confirm it. I misspelled that in the show doc.
I was looking at that. I was like,
confirm. That's weird. I don't know. It's okay. So videocards.com appears very confident in their reporting that there is an RTX 3060 Ti that they're expecting to launch in like late October, maybe even. So there's that. Oh wait, here let's show the little chart that they made here, because that gives some relevant comparisons. They even have included a 3070 Ti on this chart, as well as a 3080 20 gig. But a 3060 Ti would sit above a theoretical 3060. According to these rumors, the 3060 Ti would be launching first before an RTX 3060, but it would still use the GA104-200 CPU, or sorry, GPU. Did I say still? That's not the word I meant to say. Anyway, it would use the GA104-200 GPU, which has 4,864 CUDA cores, which is about 1,000 less than the RTX 3070. Weird saying that and comparing it, since both... No, the 3070 is confirmed, I'm sorry. 8 gigs of GDDR6 memory still, though. 14 gigabits per second, 256-bit bus, 448 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. Reference boards would maybe be 180-watt board power, whereas... manufacturer boards, third-party boards might go up to 200-watt total board power. No launch dates, but internal roadmaps point towards the end of October, which you could totally see NVIDIA lining up something to launch right along with whatever AMD is launching at the end of October or announcing at the end of October. So that could totally be a thing.
do you think NVIDIA is going to keep the funky 12-pin on the lower-end cards?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Depends on what the cooler's like, right?
Yeah.
How the PCB
It's like
is designed.
on one hand, they went to the effort of designing it. On the other hand, I feel like reception to that particular aspect of the Founders Edition card for the 3080 in particular has been the one negative part of it, and everyone's like, everyone really likes the design of the card. I feel like almost across the board, with few exceptions, people are like, the RTX 3080 is the Founders Edition, beautifully designed card, looks beastly, looks like it's there to, kick ass and everything. It seems to be well designed too when it comes to the way it cools and everything. It's not causing increased CPU temperatures from some of the testing that's been done that I've seen there as well, with the pass-through from the one side of the card. But people are like, but then you have this nice card, and then you got to obscure it with this weird cable dongle expander that comes off of that immediately. So I doubt that the response from that happened in time for them to make changes for something that would be launching at the end of October.
Right.
And I don't even know how much credence they're giving to people complaining about that.
Sure.
So yeah, it's hard to say. I could see them sticking with standard PCI Express power adapters though for lower end, especially if it's a lower lower board power card, then you could get away with like a 6 or an 8 pin,
right,
or something. So, or I think you need an 8 pin. Yeah.
If they do have 12 pins on them, that's fine. I just hope that they ship them with maybe like a longer adapter, like
a longer adapter, or just position it in a different place so that people can route that, because people are that is a concern for a lot of people when it comes to looks. And
because if it was more widely adopted, I mean, I don't think many people would be opposed to having just one connector that can do that much wattage on their GPU as opposed to 2 or even 3. It kind of simplifies things, but yeah, it's just kind of poorly executed.
Yeah. Well, I am not the only one who has the card. I have cards. I have a few cards. It's fine.
You got more cards than me, I think.
I might have more cards than you. I don't know. I answered my emails, Kyle. People emailed me.
I did answer my emails. I messed up on one of them.
Okay.
I'd probably be better off if I didn't answer them.
Sometimes
I have plenty of
sometimes
GPUs.
I feel very happy with myself. I'm like, I just got away with not answering emails for 2 weeks. And other times I'm like, wait, I probably missed some stuff. But
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
anyway, October, like I said at the beginning of the show, is going to be another packed month for launches and stuff like that. The timeline, looking at it right now, is on the 8th, you have the launch for the Ryzen and Zen 3 stuff. On the 15th, you have the RTX 3070 launch. That's just from an article, by the way. I don't think I've heard that directly, but it sounds like 15th is going to be the RTX 3070 launching. And then the 28th will be the big Navi announcement, whatever the Radeon 6000 series is going to be. There's probably going to be stuff announced alongside those things, but that's what's expected so far. And then again, if this rumor is true at all, maybe we will also have a 3060 Ti towards the end of October. And I was about to say, and I think a lot of people would be really interested in that, and I think that's true, but perhaps enthusiasm would be dampened by people being like, yeah, sure, I'll be able to buy one of those. Like,
Yeah,
right? A
I
lot
think
of people,
morale's pretty low. Expectations are at an all-time low for this launch
it
already.
definitely dampens enthusiasm for something. People are like, oh my gosh, new card, I'm gonna buy it, and it's gonna be great, and going into the fall and the winter, play tons of games and blah blah. And then suddenly you just can't buy it. That's
Right.
frustrating. So
Kind of deflated.
sometimes yields for smaller chips are better. Okay. That's the most I got for that.
But the other thing is, like, that is true, but because so few people got their hands on a 3090 or a 3080, now there's even more demand for the other cards as they're coming out, because they're like, well, fuck, I just need a 3000 series card, whether it's, this or that. So now all the people who didn't get 3080s or 3090s are probably going to try to get all the cards below them, so it's...
Potentially. I'm sure there's some overlap
For
there.
sure. I think for sure, yeah.
Like, there were definitely probably some people who didn't get a 3080 who were like, fuck it, I'm going to go for a 3090. But
Yeah.
it's so hard to quantify something like that. I would be very interested to know,
Do a poll.
in the version of like this reality where you can go into God mode and just be like, oh, let's look up that stat,
Yeah.
I'd be very interested to know that. I often wish that I could do that. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, you could do some polls, like if you took some, had people. Do
You're never
surveys
really
and
gonna.
stuff.
You're never really gonna know. You can take
No.
polls. People are gonna
But
lie.
it can give you an idea.
People are gonna go in there and taint your data. And they're gonna. Yeah, data taint.
Some of them will.
Tainted data. I just wanna. If there's a theme phrase for today's show, I want it to be tainted data,
Tainted data.
because it just sounds kind of dirty.
Rolls off the tongue.
All right. More NVIDIA news. Let's get through the rest of this. All right. NVIDIA has launched new drivers. This is as of today to supposedly fix the RTX 3080 crashes. Article here from PCWorld.com by a friend of the show, Brad Sharkus. This is 456.55 drivers and updates from the ones launched 2 weeks ago when the 3080 launched. How long ago was that now?
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. He actually tested it. He says it slightly limits the top GPU boost clock speed, which is kind of what's expected, since from my personal testing and some other reports I've seen, it's just like, really once you start pushing up past 2 gigahertz is when you start to encounter some stability. It seems to be okay, like right at the edge there, but just once you get over, once you start pushing up to 2040, 2060, 2080, is at least when I saw crashes. Granted, my testing was somewhat limited, but it does seem to be reiterated by others who have done similar stuff. But yeah, that's all there really is to say about that. NVIDIA did actually say some stuff. Wait, the NVIDIA they posted notes, right? There's notes for the driver release and stuff like that. And if you're not familiar with this, by the way, RTX 3080s have been crashing. For some people, not all people, it seems to be happening when the cards hit higher clock speeds. There was some speculation going on by Igor at Igor's lab. Jay did a video on it. I did a bit of a testing video over the weekend. basically people are looking at like, all right, is there something physically about the design of the power delivery of the cards that might be causing this? They were looking at the NVIDIA reference spec for the power delivery components, specifically the ones right behind the GPU, which is the closest you can get to the GPU, which is a very important place. So it's a final stage of power delivery. There is a type of capacitor called an SP cap. I'm trying to be very particular about this because in my video, the one thing that I got flack about in the comments was I didn't call it an SP cap.
What'd you call it? Just
I call it a POS cap.
Oh, a POS. That's a
POS cap. And in fact, NVIDIA in their statement called it a POS cap. Lots of people call it a POS cap. There was another video. Buildzoid went and was talking about the issue, and he was pointing out POS cap is actually a Panasonic branded capacitor. Whereas an SP cap is the more generic term for it. There might be some actual differences in the materials used in the capacitor itself. So it is a question of terminology, and I believe Buildzoid equated it to something like saying Kleenex instead of tissue. So the capacitors that are actually being used on the back of these cards are SP caps. None of them are actually POS caps. They're essentially the same thing. Essentially, any capacitor is similar in that it stores a charge to be expelled. That's a good word. Anyway,
delivered.
yeah, and the most important question about the capacitors is how fast they can charge and discharge, and how much capacitance they can store. Beyond that, there are other physical characteristics to certain types of capacitors as far as how prone they are to breaking, different levels of heat and moisture and stuff like that, and what makes certain ones better for certain applications than others. That's as far as I will go in discussing the electronics side of this, because there's so many small details to that, like SP caps versus POS caps, that are easy to get wrong, and I am absolutely not qualified to go much further. That said, there's a big question as to whether this is even the issue at all.
Right.
Or whether it's just that the GPU in the RTX 3080 becomes unstable when you try to run it at a frequency higher than 2 gigahertz at ambient temperatures. We've already seen some overclocking beyond that with liquid nitrogen and stuff like that. But even the LN2 overclocks have only been getting up at 21 to 2200 gigahertz, I think. Nothing too crazy. They're not pushing it very far.
So what are the MLCCs then? Is that
so the MLCCs is an array of it's an array of smaller capacitors. Is this here? There's a good picture of it here. This is on the back of the EVGA cards.
The clustered one,
yeah,
right?
So it's a little cluster of 10 capacitors versus a single solid unit for the SP caps. And again, there's a certain amount of capacitance that can be stored. There's a certain amount of time to charge and discharge them. They all function as capacitors. The question is this small change in the configuration that certain third-party manufacturers have been doing, is that enough to cause the instability to not be an issue for some cards? In my testing, and again, a little limited, I was just playing Tomb Raider and I tried to do a good 15+ minute test for each card. All the cards, when I tried to overclock them and I got above 2 gigahertz, crashed. And sometimes that's just the thing with overclocking. The issue, the real issue, that people are mad about, and is very legitimate that they're mad about, is anyone who managed to buy one of these cards, and then imagine being in one of the lucky few. Oh my gosh, the entire internet is going absolutely batshit crazy about the lack of availability of these cards. I managed to sneak in there and buy one, and then you get it, playing a game, crash the desktop, and then you start experiencing that multiple times.
Yeah,
there is a group of people who that's happened to, and that really sucks. So what's added more legitimacy to this is the fact that EVGA has come out with a direct statement about it, where they said, especially I believe for their For the Win 3 card, and that statement's right here, It said, during our mass production QC testing, we discovered a full 6 POS caps. And look, even EVGA is calling it POS caps. I wonder why people keep getting this wrong. But people who watch that Buildzoid video are really, really keen on coming in and letting you know that they're smarter than you because they watched that Buildzoid video just before they watched yours. Anyway, sorry. I changed...
It's a little salty there, Paul.
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the people who are coming in and being like, Buildzoid just indicated that's incorrect. And people did that. People did that. That's fine. And for those people, I'm like, you know what? I should correct this. That's a wrong terminology. I want to be accurate. I want to be correct. The people who are coming in there, who just, I don't know. You can tell the difference. The people who come in there, and who are just, you can tell they want to post this, not to inform you, or to inform the audience or whatever. They just want to just want to let you know that they know something that you didn't, or that you got something wrong. It's like, nah.
I know more.
I believe there's a very clear distinction between constructive criticism and just people who are trying to make themselves feel smarter.
Have we even got people who are trying to make them from NVIDIA that these are actually, in fact, not POS caps?
Well, NVIDIA, the reason this all came up is because people can look at the white papers for the reference card, and NVIDIA's baseline specification here uses the SP caps. Not POS caps, Kyle. Can't believe you called it POS caps just now. Stupid.
They are a piece of shit caps.
I know. So. That was also referenced in Igor's article. POS caps is a very common term used generically in the electrical engineering crowd because they're sometimes referred to as piece of shit caps.
Totally agree.
But yeah, there's nothing inherently better or worse about SP caps or MLCCs. Like I said, they each have different characteristics that makes them more applicable in one situation to another. It was just something that came up that Igor's lab pointed out, that this might be something that if it exists, if this set of cards did it this way and this set of cards did it the other way, and you can test them all, and these all crash in certain conditions and these don't, then that would be a reasonable, you could reasonably affirm that yes, that small detail there is what's causing the instability. But a lot of people aren't discovering that. A lot of people like me are discovering, no, it's just like once you get up to a high clock speed, everything crashes. It doesn't matter if it's POS caps or MLCCs or whatever, or SP caps or whatever combination of them. I'm not slurring. Shut up, Dan. More beer.
You did say that without stuttering whatsoever, so that was very clear.
Sorry, I was getting salty, so I was speaking quickly.
It's kind of funny and slightly annoying to see like some of the board partners like ride that train of like everyone getting so hyped over like one capacitor being better than another, and like using that to their advantage. Like I know I saw like a Instagram post from, I think it was Asus. They're like, we tested our capacitors thoroughly and found that this was the best.
Oh, they did that.
Best one. And they had all MLCCs. Like there were no SP caps on their. It was like their ROG Strix model for the 3090. Yeah, and the Tough too, I think.
Tough.
But it was just like the way that they phrased it was almost like pandering to all the people who are convinced that the MLCCs are just irrefutably better than the SP caps.
Yeah.
When that doesn't necessarily seem 100% true all the time. But marketing.
Is that what DeBauer did? I got pointed to the DeBauer video and I didn't get a chance to watch it. There was so much flying around before the show. So you can physically remove and resolder these the capacitors. And apparently that's what DeBauer did. That seems reasonable if that's something that he did. This is reported by Crafty Hack, and he's our moderator, so he better be telling the truth.
Of course, I believe.
DeBauer says he swapped the POS caps with MLCCs, and it made the card more stable. So, reasonable thing. That seems to be an indicator that maybe it is a better solution. If that is borne out with further testing, if the card manufacturers come in and repeat that, then I would be interested to see what companies like Zotac do, who have used the sort of baseline reference model configuration with the SP caps. If they're going to make any changes. That said, in all of my testing, all my cards were stable at stock. If I tested them at stock without any overclocking, they were all just fine. So, for certain cards that are supposed to run at certain clock speeds that aren't expected to be the overclocking model or whatever, and if they're running at the clock speeds advertised and they're not crashing, I don't think there's much complaint to be made there. You could say, yeah, they could have used different components here and made the card overclock better, and you'd be like, well, yeah, Zotac probably has a different model that costs, 20 or 40 or $50 more that does that, and that clocks higher, and that performs better, and they want to charge more for that. So, yeah, the key takeaways from this are don't just hate on POS caps or SP caps as a general rule and be like, those always suck, because there's different circumstances, different implementations for different types. One is not necessarily more expensive than the other. In fact, I think I saw that the SP caps actually can be more expensive to, for the cost of the component. It's just the manufacturing process for the MLCC configuration that takes more time, and that's what adds to the cost. And yeah, for anyone who's like, the 3080 sucks because it can't run above 2 gigahertz, if it's not advertised to be running above 2 gigahertz, don't complain about an overclock crashing.
Yeah.
Right? I
Right.
guess.
Yeah, because it's like 2 gigahertz on Ampere isn't equivalent to 2 gigahertz on Turing or any other architecture. There's so many other. I just heard a really loud bang outside my door. I don't know what that was.
Okay.
I'm sure it's fine. Nothing
It's fine.
terribly wrong out there.
Well, I'm sure your security team will be right on top of that, right, Kyle?
What?
Your security team that you have that's there, heavily armed at all times.
Yes.
They're
right outside.
They're investigating it as we speak.
Exactly. So anyone who's trying to break in, stay away.
I know my security team recently switched to the bullets that just make your head explode when you get shot with them. So I was happy with that decision that they made.
Nice.
It's
Right.
you can't skimp when it comes to security, Kyle, and protection.
That's why I never do.
That's why we
Armed guards.
have
all around
heavily
the place.
armed people who guard us at all times.
Choppers on the way.
Anyway.
Sorry for interruption.
Forget what I was going with that. Like Kyle was mentioning, clock speeds are somewhat arbitrary and often are not a good thing to compare generation to generation. That's something to consider. If Ampere doesn't clock very well, the GPUs above 2 gigahertz, that doesn't mean that it is suddenly underperforming 20 series graphics cards that could run at 2150 or something like that.
Yeah.
Look at the results. Look at the benchmark results. That is much more important than the clock speed that they're running at. So that's one thing to consider. That said, I think the people who might be disappointed by this would be the overclockers, because overclockers are taking advantage of the fact that a manufacturer has to manufacture a product to operate within certain tolerances. The actual produced product, the GPUs that actually come out, have a variance in the level of performance that they're able to achieve. So fitting everything within that level of tolerance leaves some headroom, and overclockers are trying to take advantage of that headroom if they happen to get a chip that can perform at a higher frequency than what it ships at. That's sort of the whole basis of overclocking. If NVIDIA is already running these RTX 3000 series GPUs very close to the peak frequency that they're capable of running at, it means that there's not going to be much headroom. You can look at that from an overclocker's perspective and be disappointed that you can't get more performance out of something you purchased for the same price. Or you could look at that as a consumer who doesn't overclock and be like, they're giving me more performance, they're giving me the most performance out of this chip that they can. I don't know. I'm trying to give you different perspectives, because I'm sure there's going to be some people out there calling me an NVIDIA apologist or something like that. IPC, yeah. What?
Is anyone's card crashing? Was it only stock cards that were crashing, or were heavily factory overclock cards crashing out of the box as well?
From what I read, and it's again a lot of it's really anecdotal at this point, it seemed like their crash is happening across a really wide range of cards. It seemed to maybe be more common with the cards that were using the SP cap configuration.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I was trying to research and be like, I was like, I'm gonna play Shadow of the Tomb Raider because I had it installed and other reasons like that. But I was like, is anyone experiencing crashes with this? And I looked up and I tried to find some different people who were saying I tried this and this and this and this, and I found people who said they had an RTX 3080 and that it was crashing in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So that was enough to compel that to happen, at least in that game for some people.
Stock, like without even.
Yeah.
Overclocking it.
And it varied from person to person, but it did seem like there was a not insignificant number of people who were just running their cards out of the box who were experiencing crashes. Enough people, like,
Sucks.
and there's people who got cards who were like, my card's working great, no problems,
Yeah.
everything's fine. But if there's a not insignificant number of people who are experiencing crashes, it's enough that NVIDIA has released a new driver. It's enough that NVIDIA, in the driver notes, they didn't say it at first. They said specifically one. I forget. They said it overtly mentions enabling NVIDIA Reflex in Call of Duty. Buried deep in the release notes, it says the new game-ready driver also improves stability in certain games on RTX 30 series GPUs. So a driver update this close to launch that's not paired with a significant game launch would indicate that NVIDIA is addressing this to some extent. They want to fix things so that people aren't experiencing this, so that they don't get the negative feedback, and they can recoup some of the lost face from the negative aspects of its launch, because the not being able to buy cards is bad enough. And you know what's also bad? Wait, we're going to get to that in a second. That's not a... Alright. Really quickly, here's some gain word. I was trying to do a good segue to Steve's video, but then I realized I'm supposed to show you these gain word Iron Man themed RTX 3080s and 3070s first, right?
Oh no.
Look at that.
Oh,
Why is this stupid video playing Tom's Hardware? I hate you, stupid videos.
You know, there's gonna be like 3 modders in the world who use this card for an
I've
Iron
made
Man
an Iron Man system using this card.
Oh god.
I actually don't like this design at all.
It looks really bad. Oh my god, why is it blue?
I don't know. Why did they make a blue one? Is it Captain America?
Oh, Jesus.
Iron Man and Captain America? Is that a...
Oh.
I don't...
How do they even do this? Like, do they have to get licensing for this?
I don't know. That's another good question.
Or is it just because
Gosh,
they're
that
using...
backplate looks hideous too. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. This needs to get roasted ASAP.
Oh, why would
shit.
anyone... I bet you have to pay like $100 more for this version of the card too.
I just vomited in my mouth a little.
That is... why...
It's one of the worst looking GPUs I've seen in a long time.
Oh, the red and blue trim is looking similar to Iron Patriot from Iron Man 3? What? Gold accents.
Because an Iron Man GPU wasn't niche enough. You had to do Iron Patriot, dude.
This is... I'm trying to read the article now. Is this being complimentary?
That shroud, like, what's with the, like, sort of trapezoidal, you know, shroud around the side fans? You know, it just looks...
So here, Spongy Master in the comments. Gainward... Wait.
Me anxiety.
Didn't take long for someone to wrestle away the ugly crown from the Nintendo Switch Lego themed card. That's probably reasonable. Anyway, all right.
Good God.
I'll be honest. I didn't look that closely at the pictures before. I was just like, oh, here's a different version of a 3080, and there's a 3070 variant of it. Wow, that's pretty bad.
And yeah, okay, sorry.
So we've been discussing a little bit on the SP cap, POS cap, MLCC thing, and the questions about NVIDIA's card stability and stuff like that. And you know who also has posted a video on this? Steve from Gamers Nexus. There he is, trying to take a break, trying to take a vacation. He wanted to go mountain biking. He just wanted to take some time away. He's been working 100-hour weeks and all you people
It's insane.
forced him to shoot a video at the same time. This is actually, this reminds me a little bit of Linus. You know, Linus is like team vacation / making videos of the vacation for Linus and Linus video group thing, or something like that. So yeah, Steve, who with his entire crew of people produced really good content on the RTX 3000 series launch, and I watched a decent amount of it, and I wanted to say thank you to him as well as his entire team, because they worked really hard. He works insanely hard, level of testing and everything. They've been getting really, really good views on their videos, and it is well deserved.
Yes.
Let me say that. Also recently hit 1 million views and everything, or 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
So
They're already at 1.1. They're getting subs like crazy right now too.
My dog is not overweight. My dog has never been overweight. What are you talking about? Sorry, random comment in chat I saw.
Hey, your dog's not overweight.
My dogs are not overweight at all.
Hero's like just muscle, just pure muscle.
Yeah, he is. He's
like straight up goals.
He's a good. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted. So, good job, Steve and Gamers Nexus. But right as Steve finally, after doing all this work leading up to the launch, probably 3 weeks of crazy days for all the content they've put out, finally decided, you know what? He's going to take some time off, some time for himself. And it's, of course, right when all of this SP cap, POS cap, MLCC, what's, causing the instability thing came up. Right. So Gamers Nexus content hadn't addressed this subject. But then Steve was suddenly getting all these people commenting like, "Why haven't you talked about this? What are you, an NVIDIA shill? You want to talk about this subject? You do all this coverage of NVIDIA. Now you're a shill because you're not talking about this one thing that suddenly everyone's talking about."
What the fuck is wrong with people?
So anyway, everyone forced Steve to do RTX 3000 analysis while doing downhill mountain biking. Like literally, and then
after grinding hundreds of hours, like 100 hours a week,
hundreds of hours
for everyone,
and then like
it's not enough. Give us
literally,
more.
If you guys haven't watched this video, like you don't need to go watch the video. It's fine. Go hit like on the video because Steve was disappointed because I'm gonna hit like on the video too. Steve was disappointed because this video was not as well received. Because I'll be honest, not the best audio quality and stuff like that. Because he wasn't planning to make a video. He's trying to go mountain biking, but he just tried to throw in something supplemental to address this thing because so many people were asking about it. But yeah.
So is the whole? Oh, okay. The whole video is him like on the bike.
There's a bunch of literally he's doing commentary breathlessly while biking down a mountain.
He's narrating while on the bike?
There's some narration that he did voiceover-wise towards the beginning. Okay. There's a bunch. Most of it is him talking while he's riding his freaking bike down the mountain. He literally took the thing he was going to take his vacation for, and overlapped like a video with discussion of it. And then a bunch of people were disliking the video because like the quality, because it wasn't like a scripted video like normal, and because he wasn't planning to make a video, so the audio quality is not that great and everything like that.
And so, how well can you like narrate on a topic like this while you're focused on downhill mountain biking? Like,
and he's
it's
not
fucking insane.
And he's not half-assing it. He's like flying down the mountain. It looks very dangerous. Very dangerous. But
be careful, anyway. Steve. We don't want anything bad to happen to you.
Good job, Steve. But yeah, like he addressed. I was reading a couple of the comments in the video, and somebody was like, "Steve, 100-hour work weeks, dude. You can't maintain that." And he went in there and addressed that and said, they're working on. He's bringing in more people. Steve's hiring people.
Steve's like, I have been programmed and engineered with MLCCs. I can go all day.
Exactly. That's why, because Steve's uses the right capacitor configuration.
Awesome.
So anyway, I'm glad that Steve is acknowledging that he needs to take a break from time to time too, and shame on everyone who is critiquing him for not responding to this more quickly, because I've often been in a situation where I'm like, some bit of news drops or whatever, I'm like, I'd love to sit down and shoot a video on that right now, but I can't. So yeah. Anyway, everyone go hit like on the video. He was disappointed because their normal dislike ratio is quite good, and you notice when there's enough people who suddenly are like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, that's all we got for the structured news bits of the show and everything. Again, if you guys would like to read any of these stories in detail, I think they're all worth a little bit of your time, so feel free to check out those links in the description. We're going to move on to AfterParty time, and we're going to continue the show over on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, you can head over to twitch.tv/awesomehardware. If you're watching this show in the future, we greatly appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. And eventually maybe there'll be timestamps. And a huge, huge thank you to Your Everyday Tech, who has been making those timestamps for us. We really appreciate that. Honestly and sincerely, I really do. Okay, but thanks everyone, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Farewell.